What's up, everybody? Lovely Sunday morning. We're going to tackle some NBA today. We'll be back in around noon for MLB Live Before Lock. Hope everybody had a successful Saturday. I did not have anything in play yesterday. Yesterday was a full-on day off, which was desperately needed. It's going to be a big-time stretch starting tomorrow. So today we will have this show. We'll have a Live Before Lock for baseball, and then things are going to be crazy for next week for the final week of the NBA season. That's kind of fun, but I'm excited to talk NBA today. Just have a nice, relaxing Sunday. Had a bit too many brewskis yesterday, so I'm going to be moving a little slower than I normally do. As usual, NBA strategy is the promo code. 50% off your first month with us. Any package you choose that is a monthly package, including packages with Fantasy Cruncher. So if you're looking to check us out, now is the perfect time to do it. You get access to NBA, MLB, NHL, tennis, golf, you name it, we've got it. So use the promo code NBA strategy. Sign up for whatever you would like. I don't remember if we are brought to you by Thrive or not on Sundays, but shout out to Thrive one way or the other. We'll talk some props as we go. I haven't even run any crunches yet. We're going to do this all on the fly. But we'll take a quick lap through everything. 4-game main slate. We got one game at a time. We got this weirdo 2-game 336 thing going on. So I'm not really going to dig into the Hawks game, the Thunder game, or the Pelicans game. I'll just take a look at it, point out the things that are standing out in my model, and then we'll focus on just the main slate in those 4 games. You guys don't like the bricks? Here, we'll go lasers. How's laser? Is that better? Get rid of the bricks. We'll have the ability to take a bunch of questions and stuff. This is not going to be a big-time stream, I'm sure. Sunday, the second to last Sunday of the NBA season. So, first game up, Hawks and Bucks. Hawks have a 115 implied total, Bucks 120.5. Obviously we know the Bucks defense is good. Hawks defense has been a little bit better as of late. Nice little pace up, fast matchup here. Hawks are very clearly number 1 in pace. I have Milwaukee 7th, so this one's going to be a quick one. Yeah, Liverpool coming up at 11:30. I will probably only see the first half and then be on Live Before Lock, but that's fine. We'll be all right. If you're playing anything today, particularly on Yahoo, Alex Len is the flat minimum. He will probably pick up quite a bit of minutes. No Dwayne Dedmon, so getting him in is basically lock button on Yahoo. As for the rest of it, this Hawks game is either basically just a showdown only, as far as I'm concerned. If Giannis doesn't play, he is questionable right now. You are going to want to look at a lot of Milwaukee. I would probably be looking at Eric Bledsoe as a sort of captain spot type guy. The Milwaukee side will be very appealing between Bledsoe, Middleton, Brolo. I would say Eric Bledsoe would be my favorite play of this game if Giannis were to sit out. If Giannis is in, Alex Len is going to be the guy you want to keep an eye on. Well, I mean, you're going to want to keep an eye on Len one way or the other, but he will be a bigger focus if Giannis is in. That's all I got, though. Well, I have very little interest in this first game, and no one should. Let's start talking about better stuff. Let's go to Thunder. Thunder and Mavs. OKC 117 implied total. Mavs 105. We can look at this a little bit closer since it's a part of at least early slates, and you get a 2-gamer. 12-point favorites at home. No Luka. I'm surprised the line isn't even bigger. Can't believe that I'm not going to be able to play any Luka today. Makes me sad. Wayne, I am good. I hope you're good as well. Frederick, Maryland in the house. We've driven through it. Best I could do. We've got Russ at 11-6 on FanDuel. He's 10-2 on DraftKings. Nope. 11-6 on FanDuel, 10-7 on DraftKings. Paul George is 10-2 on FanDuel, 9,600 on DraftKings, 52 and 47 respectively on Yahoo. Let me make a quick change so that I can pull some stuff through. Paste, and paste. Yeah. So if I'm looking at Thunder Dallas, Dallas is going to get a lot more love because of Luka being out, but we'll start on the OKC side. It's really hard for me to hash out what I prefer from OKC. If they play their full allotment of minutes, and I mean this one feels about as locky of a blowout as you can get, which makes me really nervous, but I think that Russ, PG, Adams, Grant, and Schroeder are all really solid plays, and they're barely separated by anything from each salary tier. It is absolute coin flips on FanDuel across the board to all five guys. I would always want to lean towards the higher point accumulation, so the Russ and the Paul George type, but ultimately, I'd be happy to get to any part of Oklahoma City on both FanDuel and DraftKings because I have their values very, very similar. Adams on DK at 5,600 stands out a little bit more to me than anything else, but I'm just going to have a lot of exposure to the top five guys of Oklahoma City. It's really hard for me to get to a different outcome. They just grade out well. The problem is the Dallas Mavericks grade out crazy across FanDuel and DK. Not having Luka really changes this up. So Dwight Powell is 7,100 on FanDuel, 5,700 on DraftKings. That $5,700 price tag is kind of crazy. I like Powell here. And even though I said I like Adams for OKC, I prefer Powell at 5,700 to Adams at 56. Tom's got early and main slate ownership up, so let's take a look at that. Shout out to Tom for getting that up there for me. Grab the early so we could take a look. Early slate. DraftKings. Early slate FanDuel. There we go. So Terrence Ferguson getting a little love on FanDuel as a potential drop guy. That makes sense to me. Russ leading the way on OKC, 60% ownership on both sites. PG slotting in a little bit behind that in the 40s. Adams and Grant in the 30s on both sites. And then Schroeder at 55 on FanDuel, 22% on DK. So a little bit more ownership there for Schroeder on FanDuel. But let's go to Dallas now, since that's where we were. I don't really need that $7,100 price tag on Dwight Powell, and it seems like the public doesn't either. But that 32% number, if he really does have similar ownership than Steven Adams, I would like to get a little bit more there. But we can't just stop there. Jalen Brunson is 5,900 on FanDuel, 4,700 on DraftKings. Man, Snapper Turtle, or whatever your actual name is, congratulations for being like the absolute weirdest dude that shows up here, man. Super weird. Super, super weird. Nobody lets me on air. I let myself on air. Crazy person. Goodbye again. Go create your next YouTube account, man. Enjoy your Sunday. Can't imagine being a Twitter or a YouTube troll at 9:40 a.m. Goodbye. Gotta love Jalen Brunson here. 4,700 on DK. One of the best values of the entire slate. For him to be that price with his minutes and his expected role with Luka out, love Jalen Brunson. Brunson on DraftKings is without question my favorite play in this game. I still really like Maxey 4,900 on both sites. That is significantly better on FanDuel than it is on DraftKings. Trey Burke 3,600 on FanDuel. Fantastic option as a drop salary that you probably won't even have to drop on a 2-gamer. He's 3,600 on DK. I think that's perfectly fine. But the FanDuel price is obviously more advantageous. It's just hard to know how many minutes Trey Burke is going to get now. I still have him only in for 22, but there's upside there for sure. And then Ryan Brokroff, I think, is feasible. Should see a couple extra minutes as well. 3,500 flat minimum on FanDuel. Works as another potential drop guy. 3,300 on DK. I think that's a little bit more appealing. It's really easy to get to Dallas value. It's just going to be a really tricky game because Oklahoma City should beat the brakes off of them. It's pretty bad. Let's go to New Orleans. The New Orleans Pelicans hosting the LeBron James-less Los Angeles Lakers. No more Bron for the rest of the season. No more half of a team at this point. They are brutally beat up. When you're giving minutes to Scott Machado and Isaac Bonga, I was running out of bodies that I recognized. So Pelicans 119 implied total, Lakers 116.5. Pelicans defense is terrible. This game's going to be a track meet. We'll start on the New Orleans side. Major pace up spot. These two games, between that Hawks-Bucks game and Pelicans-Lakers, I have Pels as my number 2 pace team. Lakers are number 6. It's a lot of pace in these early games. Julius Randle is 8,800 on I should mention we won't have Frank Jackson for the Pelicans. Anthony Davis is supposed to be in. So 8,800 for Randle on FanDuel, 8,200 on DK. He's got 30-ish% ownership on both sites. He's fine. I will certainly have some Randle. He is not the star of the show, in my opinion. Elfrid Payton, 7,600 on FanDuel, 7,500 on DK. That would be a direction that I would be going pretty heavily if he is in. And then Christian Wood, 5,800 on FanDuel, 5K on DK. I'm only giving him 26 minutes with Davis in. That does make me a little nervous. I'm really anxious to see, with Anthony Davis in, how the minutes shake out between Randle, AD, Wood, Diallo, Okafor. It's a lot of bodies, and I'm not entirely sure how it's going to shake out. But as long as Christian Wood gets, north of 20 minutes, maybe north of 24, I would say, I think you'll be okay. He's not gaining all that much ownership, so I think that I might have his minutes a little high. He's definitely going to be a guy that I need to dig into. Updated early ownership taking out Doncic. Thank you, Tom. See, grinding hard on a Sunday morning. Shout out to Tom behind the scenes. Get this ownership back in there now. We'll hop back over to the Pels game. Whew. And click. Alrighty. Yeah, still with Randle in the 40s now. That all makes sense. Peyton's ownership up. That all makes sense. I am going to have to take a look at Christian Wood's minutes. Based on his expected ownership, that makes me think that the public thinks he gets a couple less than that. So he will be not the play that grades out on my screen if I drop him to 24 or 22, but he's still in play, especially on a 2-gamer. God, even someone like Stanley Johnson is in play, 4,300 on FanDuel, 4,400 on DK. Do I like Anthony Davis even for 21 minutes? In a 2-game slate? Absolutely. In 20 minutes, Anthony Davis could put up, 38, 40 fantasy points. You can go to 2 fantasy points a minute. He's been at 1.86 over his last 30 days. It doesn't take much to get him over that. On a 2-game slate, raw points rule the roost. So if he puts up 35 plus fantasy points, you're in perfect shape. That is not going to hurt you all that much. I would have some AD, 4% on FanDuel for ownership, 7 on DK. I'd have no problem being around those numbers. And then Ian Clark, 4,400 on FanDuel, 4,300 on DK. He's kind of the crown jewel of the Pelicans, at least on FanDuel. There's so many minutes to go around with Frank Jackson out. So I have Clark in for 30 minutes. He's a very, very chalky play on FanDuel, and I get it. I probably like him a little bit more on DK, oddly enough. But if I'm ranking the Pelicans, at least on the FanDuel side, I would say Elfrid Payton, then Randall, Christian Wood, Stanley Johnson, Anthony Davis, Ian Clark. That would be my FanDuel rankings. On DK would be Payton, Randall, Wood, Clark, AD, Stanley Johnson. Lakers side. God, this is ridiculous. This team is just decimated. Yeah, Ian Clark should scare you, the guru. He should scare you. JaVale is 7,700 on FanDuel, 6,600 on DK, $27 on Yahoo. Getting 60% ownership on FanDuel, 46 on DK. It's really hard to not want to play JaVale if he plays 30 minutes. 1.4 fantasy points per minute over his last 30 days. He's just playing out of his mind. I will certainly be going to JaVale, one of my favorite plays on the Lakers, but it's really hard to separate him from like Lance and Alex Caruso. Kyle Kuzma, 6,400 on FanDuel, 6,100 on DK. Looks fantastic. The team is basically his now, at least for this next week. He's at 40% expected ownership. Hard to disagree with much of this. Rondo looks good, 6,900 and 5,900. 5,900 in particular on DraftKings is a fantastic price tag. Mr. OG DFS. Morning, Mel. Josh, you look tired, brother. Josh went to bed at like 12:45 and woke up at 6:45. Josh is very tired, and he had a couple too many beers last night. Yeah, so my wife and I went to a food and beer pairing event last night in town. It's probably like 30 of our local restaurants. And they paired each. You got like a very tiny plate of food, a lot of tacos, and they paired with a local beer as well. So there were like 40 stations of one little bite of food and a couple ounces of beer. That stuff starts to add up. So it was a fun night. It was a really good experience. I love wine. It's just wine didn't happen to be part of this event. I would have preferred it to be wine. Probably wouldn't feel as good today, though. So Lakers, in summary, McGee, Kuzma, Rondo, KCP, Stevenson, Caruso. Those are the guys to look at. I'm getting way too much Alex Caruso as of right now. He's not really getting any ownership, but the minutes are going to be there, barring Reggie Bullock being in, which I don't really expect. Yeah, it was like the Catalina wine mixer last night, but with beer. The Wilmington beer mixer. That's what we'll call it. If I'm ranking the Lakers on FanDuel, I would go Kuzma, JaVale, Lance, Rondo, KCP, Caruso. On DK, I would go Lance, 4,500. That's a ridiculous price tag. JaVale at 66. Kuzma, Rondo, KCP, Caruso. That's where I'm at. New coffee shop is bomb. Good to know. Good to know. Good to know. All right. That's the quick lap through the 3 early games. Now, let's run some crunches and take a look at the main slate. That's what matters most today. Now that we have the crossover, it's going to be really hard to sell me on wanting to get in on Oklahoma City Thunder, Dallas Mavericks with no Luka Doncic. So let's load up some projections and run some crunches. What do you say? Alrighty, Fantasy Cruncher. FanDuel. Fantasy Cruncher DraftKings. Let us run some crunches. Alrighty. Ooh, let's grab ownership too. Shout out to Tom for getting all of that again. Hope you are all sticking around for baseball after this. We'll be going live around noon, taking you all the way up until lock. Oh, there you go. Speaking of questions, is there an early baseball show today? We'll be going. It won't be like early. It'll just be going up until lock. There won't be like just a generic strategy show or anything. Alrighty. Clay Thompson, go get it. That's not right. That's right. And we're in. Hopping back here. Grab some projections. Let's run some crunches, people. Let's find out what we're looking at on FanDuel tonight. 4-game slate. All right, we'll crunch one and then run to DK quick and get them all loaded. Uh, 59.4, 58.8. Okay, talking to myself. Apologize. Who's on the baseball show? Me for sure. Most potentially EMAC. I'll have to talk to him. Should be a fun show. I've got a little bit more work done on my spreadsheet yesterday, so I'm ready for baseball. Ready to take down another tournament. That should be fun. All right. FanDuel's crunching. Let's get some DraftKings ones in here. Yeah, I'm pumped for baseball. I love basketball, and it's my favorite sport to like follow. But baseball DFS, man, that is the ticket for me. That is what I want to play constantly. I love the lack of like late scratchiness. FanDuel NBA lock of the day. I don't have any of those, my man. I'm sorry. That's the wrong number. Rando on no more than 4. There we go. One crunch done. Looks like Paul Millsap is going to be a part of my life tonight. Why do people talk more about DraftKings than FanDuel? DraftKings offers better tournaments than FanDuel. The more people play on DraftKings. That's my opinion. FanDuel crunch. Got it. DraftKings crunch should be done. DraftKings crunch. Yeah, I've always been more of a FanDuel guy than a DraftKings guy. I don't know why. It's just sort of always been like the first place that I end up wanting to play. I don't know why. That's always sort of where I've been. Obviously, I do play DraftKings. I don't know. There's just something about FanDuel that I've always preferred. It might just be like the bright website compared to like the dark website of DK. I have no idea. I don't know why. I don't have any like particular preferences. I've actually been better on DraftKings in my life than I have been on FanDuel. So who knows? All right, let's grab 100 of my top lineups on FanDuel. And grab 100 of my top lineups on DK. I'm excited to start talking baseball, though, and get back into like the swing of things. I feel rusty, but worked so far. All right, 100 DK lineups. We're going to talk through 4 games, and then we'll get out of here. First game up, San Antonio Spurs taking on the Sacramento Kings. 118.25 implied total for the Spurs, 108.75 for the Kings. 9.5 point line for San Antonio. Big time pace up spot for the Spurs as well. Marcus Aldridge, 9,200 on FanDuel, 8,100 on DK, $33 on Yahoo. Looking like a really nice play on all 3 sites. He's getting low 30% ownership on FanDuel and DK. I have just slightly north of that. And then on Yahoo, I think he's even more set up at just $33. That's a really crazy price tag. So get yourself some Aldridge on Yahoo if you're playing. I do like DeRozan, 8,900 on FanDuel, 8K on DK. I basically think that Aldridge and DeRozan are like literal equals for tonight. It's really hard to separate the 2 guys. They're barely separated in projection. DeRozan just slightly cheaper on both, so I can't really ignore him. And then Derek White is another guy grading out really well for me. The $6,200 tag on FanDuel isn't that appealing, but he is $4,900 on DK, which is insanity. He's by far the best play on the Spurs, by far the best play in this game. If I'm playing anyone here, one specific guy, Derek White on DraftKings is the place that I want to look. Jakob Poeltl getting a lot of ownership on DraftKings. Did I miss something today? Is there news that I didn't account for? Is he... Let me make sure that I'm not missing anything on the Spurs. San Antonio. I don't see anything. Why would Jakob Poeltl be so chalky? Is there just no value out there? Played 19 minutes the last game. Did we not hear something? Yeah, I don't know. Jakob Poeltl projecting to be pretty chalky on DK. 3,800. Not really my idea of a good time. I only got 1% of him. So my focus from the Spurs, Aldridge, DeRozan, Derek White. A little bit of Rudy Gay is fine, but I am not with the rest of the field there. Just really hard for me to trust a lot of Spurs at one time. On the Sacramento side, this one's not great. The implied total is really unappealing, 108.75. Spurs defense is fantastic. 7%, and particularly at home, 7% better than average at limiting fantasy points on a per possession basis. They are the best in the league over their last 15 games. I'm essentially not getting to Sacramento. I do have Bielitsa in. I do not have Harry Giles in, but whether Giles is in or Kufos is in, it's not really changing anything. Buddy Hield for 7,300 on FanDuel is the only guy that I have in double digits of exposure. That's still below the field. Bagley's getting some love at 74. I'm not there. Harry Barnes getting some love at 5,200 on FanDuel. I'm not there. Bogdan getting some love at 5,200 on FanDuel. I am not there. I'm having a really hard time advocating for anything from Sacramento in this spot. It is just a really unappealing game. It's slow. San Antonio's for sure going to try to slow down Sacramento even more, and their defense is just it's too good for the Kings right now. So I can't really recommend much of anything coming out of Sacramento. It's just not my flavor today. I cannot drink this coffee fast enough. Yeah, that early slate is kind of brutal, Guru. Let's go to Denver. Denver Nuggets, 118 implied total. Wizards, 106.5. Ooh, that is not what that should be saying. It's saying MLB strategy show on the ticker. I'm going to change that. NBA. Knew I missed one. Bink. Yeah, Nuggets 118, Wizards 106.5. It's 11.5 total. Wizards defense, dreadful. Denver, as far as I know, everybody is healthy. And yeah, you're going to want to have some Nuggets tonight. Pace up spot for the Nugs. 10-4 for Jokic, 9,800 on DK. Looks great. I have him in 30% of my lineups on both sites. That's just with the field. Paul Millsap, 35% expected ownership on FanDuel and DK. He's 7,200 on FanDuel, 6,200 on DraftKings. I got between 60 and 70% depending on the site. Millsap just grading out really, really well for me. I'm going to get to quite a bit of Jamal Murray, specifically at 6,400 on DraftKings. I'm miles over the field on Will Barton, 5,100 on FanDuel, 4,700 on DK. Mason Plumlee looks solid at $4,800 on both sites. A lot better on FanDuel, in my opinion, than DraftKings. And Gary Harris, another guy that I'm willing to go to in the mid-20s. Even Malik Beasley as a FanDuel drop looks fine. I just want to have lots and lots of pieces of Denver. They are a fantastic option against this Wizards team. Don't be afraid to get to any part of it. While I'm getting more Will Barton and Paul Millsap in this game, Jokic's upside is kind of unrivaled for anybody here. So I would want to start with Jokic. Then I would say that Will Barton, then Paul Millsap would be next in line for me. Jamal Murray on DraftKings is ahead of both of those guys. On FanDuel at 7,300, his price isn't as advantageous. But I like working in Mason Plumlee as much as you can. You know, if Jokic happens to get in foul trouble, Plumlee could be in for a big one. I wouldn't worry too much about like the Trey Lyles minutes that have been happening. I don't get the sense that that's going to matter all that much. Just play a lot of Denver. They are really, really difficult to ignore today. The Washington side, tough spot. Nuggets defense hasn't been fantastic as of late, but this is a pace down matchup. Bradley Beal, 9,600 on FanDuel, 8,700 on DK. Just really hard to justify Beal if he's not going to get all the way up to 40 minutes. I put him in for 36. If I'm playing anything in this game, my main focus is Satoransky on FanDuel at 5,900. If he can get into that mid 30s in minutes, I think it's going to be a really nice spot for him. Jabari Parker getting a lot of love off of that monster game. 6,400 on FanDuel, 6,100 on DK. I'm getting some, but nothing crazy. Similar story for Portis. And finally, clap it up for FanDuel. Troy Brown's price, $4,300 now, up $800 for reasons that I don't know. But he is no longer the auto lock punt play on FanDuel. When he's 3,500, you just play him and you don't worry about it. Now that he's up to 4,300 on FanDuel and 44 on DK, you don't really need all that much. The appeal in this game is on the Denver side for sure. And like I said, Satoransky is the guy that's grading out best for me on FanDuel. No one really grading out all that well on DK, but you can cycle through a couple guys. Golden State Warriors hosting the Charlotte Hornets. 120.5 implied total for the Warriors. 108.5 for the Hornets. 12-point favorites. So these first three games are not projected to be particularly close. Warriors defense is solid. Hornets defense has been bad. By all accounts, I think the Warriors have everybody available. Double check that. Oh, yo, Sal, I hope you enjoyed Raleigh, man. Good spot. Yeah, by all accounts, everybody should be in here. So unless we get some news. These guys look a little bit better on DK than they do on FanDuel. Curry is 9,800 on FanDuel, 9,200 on DraftKings. I've got a little bit more than the field for him right now. I am pretty massively under the field on Kevin Durant. He is 10-1 on FanDuel. That's not really appealing to me. 9,100 on DK. I would just rather have Curry. DeMarcus Cousins is 8,800 on FanDuel, 7,400 on DraftKings. Another guy that I will probably just be underweight on. Seems to be getting a little popular. That's not for me. I would rather just pay more money and go to Jokic. Klay Thompson, pretty chalky today. 30% expected ownership on FanDuel. 39 on DraftKings. I am right there with the field. Clay looks fantastic today. Really hard not to get to at least some Clay Thompson. And then finally, Draymond, 6,800 on FanDuel, 5,900 on DK. He's getting some love. I don't disagree with it. It's not super appealing to me, but the minutes are there. And on a 4-game slate, it's a little bit different. So if I were ranking the Warriors on FanDuel, it would be Steph, Clay, Draymond, Durant, and Cousins. On DK, it would be Clay, Curry, Draymond, Cousins, Durant. That's where I'm at. Oh, that coffee is just it's making my entire life better. If you're here, guys, hit that like button. It'd be very, very helpful for us. Thumbs up under the video. Just give that a old click, and I'd be very appreciative of it. On the Hornets side, slight pace up spot. The 108.5 implied total, not helpful, nor is the defensive matchup. Kemba Walker is 9,600 on FanDuel, 8,900 on DK, and not really getting all that much ownership. Load up on Kemba here. If he's going to still play big minutes, and it appears that he is, if he's in the low teens in ownership, I really want to get to Kemba. So Kemba's a guy that it appears that I'm going to be over the field on. Miles Bridges at 5,500 on FanDuel is pretty appealing. I have no interest in Jeremy Lamb now that it appears that his minutes are going to be reduced. Marvin Williams looks okay. Dwayne Bacon for 4,500 on DraftKings is probably the best play, dollar for dollar on the Hornets. I've got him in for 33 minutes. Only 17% expected ownership. I've got in the mid-30s. So Dwayne Bacon is very, very interesting. Yeah, apparently Batum is just going to get DMP CD'd. He's just out of the rotation. It's really crazy. And MKG is also, which is really crazy to think about because next year they have 2 guys that they have taken out of their rotations, for right now at least, that are projected to make like $40-something million combined. Good luck, Hornets. Shout out MJ. Keep getting those Haynes checks, buddy. You're going to need that to pay your salary bills. How do you get ownership info? You sign up at awesemo.com and check out our ownership projections. Final game of the NBA day. The late night hammer. The Los Angeles Clippers hosting the Memphis Grizzlies. I don't know if this total is correct. It wasn't up when I started the day. Let's see if it's up now. It is 221.5. I entered 220. God damn, I'm good. So good. Lines up to 9 as well. All right. There we go. 115.25 implied total for the late night hammer Clippers. 106.25 for the Grizz. It's a 9-point line for LA. A little bit of a pace down spot for the Clippers. Nobody coming off as like super appealing. I have Danilo Gallinari in. If he ends up being out, that's going to change this one up quite a bit. JaMychal Green is going to become very, very popular. Lou Will, 7,600 on both sites. A lot more appealing on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. Just a little bit too expensive there. He's $26 on Yahoo. Now that's a spot that I think that you can go. Montrezl Harrell looks good. 7,600 on FanDuel, same as Lou Will. 66 on DK. I prefer him on FanDuel to DraftKings. That should be no surprise after looking at it. Just happy to go there. I will play a little bit of Gallo if he is in. I don't have much interest in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I have less interest in Pat Bev than the public. 19% on FanDuel, 29% on DK. I'm coming in under both of those numbers. I'm not getting to JaMychal Green at 4K unless we find out Gallinari is out. Similar story for Landry Shamet. I just don't find this Clippers team to be all that particularly interesting. I would much rather get to more Spurs, Nuggets, and Warriors than the Clippers in this late night hammer spot. It's not great. Memphis is not a fun team to roster guys against, besides the fact that they're just not good. Joval went bonkers yesterday. Good for him. Pace-up spot for Memphis. Basically always a pace-up spot for Memphis. Joval is $8,500 on FanDuel, $7,900 on DraftKings, $32 on Yahoo. Clearly love him across the board. Getting into the around 30% ownership on both sites. I'm in the high 30s, so I'm very much in for some Joval. I have no problem getting any Mike Conley, but it's definitely muted. $8,400 on FanDuel, $7,800 on DK. He's way more popular than I see him, but I'll have somewhere in like the 15% range, but he looks to be coming in about double that. Tyler Dorsey's the guy that I'm interested in. $4,500 on FanDuel, $4,500 on DraftKings. I'm getting a ton. He's not projected to be very owned, so I'm a big fan of getting to some Tyler Dorsey today because of the minutes. Should play around 32. If people start dropping, like if Chandler Parsons ends up out, if Noah continues to be out, there's just a lot of minutes to go around. So I'm not going to get to my boy Bruno with all that sort of volume. $5,800 on FanDuel, $5,300 on DK. Been a 0.8 fantasy point per minute guy over his last 30, playing monster minutes, but he's just a little bit too empty for me. So I only got 3% on FanDuel. It's under the field. I got 5% on DK, slightly over. It's just not a lot of appeal. The two things that I want the most out of this game would be Valanciunas and Tyler Dorsey. But that's where I stand, guys. That's a quick lap through every game. 45 minutes. You can't beat it. Let's look at my overall summary of exposures. Top plays for me on DK, basically the Denver guys. So Barton, Millsap, Jamal Murray. I like Dorsey, Derek White. Just finding it hard to pay all the way up. There's not. I mean, who's the most expensive guy on DK tonight? $9,800 Jokic. I mean, you can really build some balanced lineups today, which is exciting. On FanDuel, if we're looking for top plays, Paul Millsap, Will Barton, Tyler Dorsey, all very similar. Satoransky looks a lot better on FanDuel than DK. LaMarcus Aldridge is a very solid option. And Jonas Valanciunas. Those are my top 6 on FanDuel. What time's the baseball overview, Josh? Just live before lock for baseball. There's no way to do a show and then immediately come back and do another show. So doing live before lock and knowing you have all the lineups, we'll focus on that main slate for baseball. But that's where we're at, guys. Thanks for coming in and joining me. I really appreciate it. We are going to have just an overwhelming amount of content over this next week as we close out the NBA season and the NHL season. It's just going to be shows upon shows upon shows. So get ready for that until we have this a week from today. The NBA regular season comes to an end. So I appreciate you guys joining me. I will be back in like an hour and 45 minutes to do MLB Live Before Lock. So thank you for being here. NBA Strategies, the promo code, 50% off your first month with us. Shout out to Thrive. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to you guys for joining me on a Sunday morning. Hit the like button on your way out the door. I'll talk to you guys in like 2 hours. Peace.